They're different people with different cars damaged at different times, but they all told us the same story. They took their car to Hernandez Collision Center where it sat for months, unfixed, racking up charges in what they now call car jail.
I felt like it was in jail. I mean, there's so many cars out there that are on that parking lot and they are in jail, like they can't get out.
This is what Heather Hurst's Toyota 4Runner looked like after someone rear-ended her 2 years ago. The other driver was at fault. Every shop she called told her it would be months before they could fit her in, all except one, Hernandez Collision Center. They said they could take her car that day. Hopeful, she dropped it off. She calls it the worst mistake of her life.
I had no idea a business could take your vehicle and never give it back.
Documents show Hurst's car sat in Hernandez's lot off Ogeechee Road for 6 weeks unrepaired and racking up fees. When she decided she wanted to take it somewhere else, they sent her this bill for nearly $6,000. The shop listed off storage and estimate fees, including a more than $1,200 administrative fee for things like answering the phone and greeting the customer.
And, I had thought, well, I'll bring a credit card and I'll dispute it. But no, she said, we don't take credit cards. We take only cashier checks.
Hurst didn't realize it, but Hernandez's consent form, which she signed, states in small, fine print the shop does not accept credit cards or personal checks. Customers tell us it's also an arbitration agreement, meaning if you sign it, it's much harder to sue them. Hurst ended up paying this $5,000 cashier's check just to get her unrepaired car back. Progressive Insurance called Hernandez's charges, quote, not usual or customary. But it didn't end there. After Hurst talked to us last month, Hernandez sued her. He also sued one of our other sources, who then asked not to be named in our story because she now has litigation hanging over her head. Neither lawsuit accuses either of the women of making any false statements to us or anyone else about how Hernandez treated them. Instead, they claim the women violated that arbitration agreement by seeking extrajudicial remedies. I found Hernandez is no stranger to lawsuits. In fact, the shop has been involved in more than 120 other civil cases in Chatham County alone. In most of those cases, Hernandez sued its customers for abandoning their cars.
It was just a windshield. That's it.
Jill Morris says she feared she'd never get her husband's brand new Chevy Impala back after taking it to Hernandez for a cracked windshield last year. 2 months and more than $4,000 later, they finally drove it home.
We just pretty much demanded our car. I think they were tired of us.
Taniqua Grimsley says her Ford Focus also sat for more than 2 months at Hernandez's Hinesville location. It had minor bumper damage after someone hit her. She says Hernandez also charged nearly $4,000 for the repair.
Imagine getting into a car wreck, you're already stressed out, and the people that's supposed to help you are making it 10 times worse.
Grimsley says she tried to sue the shop, but a judge threw the case out, citing that arbitration agreement. We took it to the Better Business Bureau.
It seems to be designed to extract the most possible revenue out of every customer that comes through the front door.
BBB Southeast Atlantic Office President Tom Stevens says he's never heard of such high fees for an estimate. And he says the fact Hernandez won't take credit cards is a red flag.
Because that means they've been beset with chargebacks over the years because of their pricing or because of their practices or whatever. And so they just refuse to take them.
All three women encourage others to be cautious and avoid shops like Hernandez Collision Center.
Because they're going to find a way to get your money. And if they don't get your money, they're going to keep your car.
I contacted Hernandez Collision Center as I was putting this story together. Their attorney, Benjamin O'Neill, called me back. I sent him a list of specific questions and paperwork backing up multiple complaints. They did not answer my questions, though, and instead said they could not comment on pending lawsuits.
Drive across the Southeast and you'll notice many lenders offering fast cash for your car's title, but one in particular founded right here in Savannah seems to stand out. From their familiar jingle to the multi-million-dollar fines they've faced, TitleMax has certainly made a name for itself.
I don't want them to take my car because that's how I get to work.
Rodney Paylor signed this agreement at the TitleMax off Highway 80 in Pooler back in October, handing over the title to his Lexus LS for a $3,600 loan. TitleMax gave him a month to pay it back with interest, meaning he owed that plus an extra $450. But Paylor says the TitleMax agent did not explain that to him. He says she told him he could pay it off over time in $450 installments. All these months later, Paylor now sees he's only been paying off the interest, not the roughly $4,000 he borrowed.
She didn't even have the screen towards me. She said, it's a whole lot of, just written words. Don't worry about it. I'll take it for you. And I didn't see anything that was going on until she showed me where to sign.
Paylor's agreement has him paying a more than 150% annual percentage rate, or APR. He estimates by the time he pays off his car title, he will have given TitleMax nearly $10,000 for a $3,600 loan. Paylor says he went to TitleMax because he needed cash to help pay for childcare for his son. He feels the agent took advantage of his desperation.
That's entrapment at its finest, because they find people that's in a hurry for cash.
The Federal Trade Commission calls car title loans expensive and warns that you could lose your vehicle, adding that some lenders insist on installing a GPS system and starter interrupt devices so that they can locate your car, disable it remotely, and repossess it. They can then sell your car and keep all of the money. Paylor's advice: if an agreement sounds too good to be true,
9 times out of 10, it is, especially if you're dealing with TitleMax.
We do have good news to share. After I interviewed Rodney, I reached out to TitleMax and asked them about his situation. Rodney says the next day they contacted him and agreed to give him his title back. Rodney tells us there is some paperwork involved. We'll be sure to let you know how that plays out.
On this particular afternoon, the town of Rocky Ford is even quieter than usual. Eerily, frustratingly quiet. Flashing lights and parked cars tell an all too familiar story for people around here. This Norfolk Southern train split the town of Rocky Ford in half for nearly 24 hours earlier this month, forcing residents to wait it out. Locals say it's an extreme case of a regular occurrence.
I'm on 148 Main Street, right next to this train track that stays there 2 to 3 hours at a time.
Beulah Budget runs a cafe and gas station in town. She says the train blockage has been a problem for years, but it's gotten worse recently. She says it's crushing business and more.
My business is suffering. My church suffer on Sunday mornings when it be there and people coming from the, got to cross the track.
But that's not all.
The school bus come through. They have to sit and wait for hours for the kids.
We watched as this school bus pulled up, dropped off kids, and waited. Resident Aiden Peters says people in town feel powerless.
Obviously, the train track split Rocky Ford into two, so it's kind of frustrating when you live one house down and you can't even get to your own house.
As you can see here, the company did put up this sign with a number to call if a train is blocking a crossing for more than 15 minutes. But Peters says it's useless.
They say the same thing over again. We're working on it. We're working on it. We're working on it. That's all we get.
These residents tell us it's time for a change. They say if these trains are going to derail their way of life, they'd at least like to know why and how long their wait will be this time.
A little bit more communication would always be key to help out the citizens of Rocky Ford and what to expect.